So good morning, I'm Dorcas. Welcome back, and we continue with the second video on the focus on TPD with Kemi. Let me start by saying that I am not a trainer or tutor with Kemi. I am a student with Kemi. So whatever I'm doing here, I'm just guiding you people on how to access the virtual campus, how I've understood the Kemi virtual campus, how I've understood the modules, and how I'm tackling the assignments. So kindly do not copy and paste what I'm saying here and do the same. Just customize it to fit you and how you understand the assignment. And also let me take this opportunity to thank you very much for subscribing to my channel, TPD Online Classroom. Thank you for liking the videos, and thank you for keeping it here. I'm just practicing what I'm my tutoring, online tutoring skills. And I've done a few videos concerning teachers. I've done a few videos on hobbies that I like. So if this is the kind of content that you enjoy, kindly click on the title of my channel, TPD Online Classroom, and go to the videos and see what I have done. I've done a few videos on how to fill your TPD appraisal, how to declare your wealth, how to fill your KRA returns. And actually, being a science and technology teacher in grade 4 and 5, I've also done a few videos on the Word document, and we continue doing so now, even in music. We are planning to do that just to guide you and the learners on the few strands that we might find a challenge in our schools. So for today, I want to take you through the TPD plan, the TPD plan, how to come up with an action plan, because this is part of the end of chapter assignment with Kemi, just to show you how to do it. So let's jump right into the portal. So I'm here. Actually, we're required to insert a photo. I've not yet done that. So I'm going to come down here. I told you, as you can see, I'm at 3%. I'm actually working on my assignment and in the portal. So you're going to see your progress depending on how far you've gone. So you click on the teacher professional development introductory, click on that link. Then you scroll down. I've read all this, so I want to scroll down. As you can see, on professionalism, I'm on 14%. I've done something. Then we have competency-based curriculum. I've not tackled that. Then there's the third one. So the chapter 1 is on the introductory module. Then you come to, you can see 1.2 about CBC. Then chapter 3 is on assessment. And then we're going to have a chapter 4, comprehensive school health and safety is not available. The 2, 1.4 and 1, we've not covered that. I think we're going to cover that in the subsequent training. So let me come to this one, professionalism, because that is where at the end of it we have the assignment. So I'm going to come down here. I have read this learning outcome. We tackled that last time, so we are here. As you can see, there's a chapter 1, professionalism presentations. So I told you these are slides. Then we have the KEPS competence indicators for teachers. Then we have KEPS for instructional leaders. So actually the TPD plan, for you to come up with the TPD plan, you must understand all about the TPD and why it is there. So let me start by saying that the TPD stands for Teacher Professional Development. And this is a continuous process where teachers are supposed to update their knowledge and skills in their teaching career. And we understand that the teaching career is a dynamic profession, so we have to keep on updating ourselves and upskilling. And the TPD process involves both the employer and the employee. So in Kenya, our employer is the Teacher Service Commission. So the Teacher Service Commission came up with standards that they expect for you to be called a professional teacher in Kenya, you must meet those standards, and there are 7. They also came up with competency indicators, what will show that you have achieved that standard. Okay? And that is what you're going to be looking at. So for the employer, their TPD program is to train us, the teachers. And that is actually what you are doing. TSA identified institutions to take teachers through the program. And it's actually new and we are starting. We've only gone through our first session during the December holidays. And this is what you're tackling and the assignment we are supposed to do. Then on our part as teachers, at the school level, we are supposed to come up with a TPD plan. because we are assuming nobody is perfect here. We have some gaps. We are going to look at the 7 standards. They are there. You are going to look at them in the model. So you are supposed to identify among the 7 standards, which one do I think I'm not competent enough? Then your focus should be there. Then let me say that your TPD plan should be termly. You should plan for a term. So what you're supposed to look at, as you can see here on the dashboard, we have kept competence indicators for teachers. We're supposed to click that, look at the competency indicators, and it's going to show us the 7 standards. And for each standard, it's going to show us the competence indicators that show that you have achieved that standard. So you can pick one standard and also pick one indicator and focus on that for that term. This is what I'm going to do to achieve this gap. And then according to the assignment, we are going to look at it. We are required now to identify a teaching subject that will help us achieve that goal. So let me begin by opening this link here, KEPS Competence Indicators for Teachers. Let's start there so that we can understand. And as I told you in my first video, kindly don't rush to do the assignment when you've not gone through the modules, because once you go through the modules and understand it, it's going to be very easy to do the assignment. So kindly go through you can see the first slide is on professionalism. Go through it. Then you come with the kept indicators for teachers, competence indicators for teachers. We have another one for the instructional leaders. For the instructional leaders, now these are our head teachers and principals. So theirs is just like what you're going to see here, but now theirs starts by the teacher will lead. They are our leaders. So that is the only difference, the terms written. So as we can see here, don't know where it can zoom a bit. So we are being told the Kenya Professional Teaching Standards, the KEPS, have competence indicators that guide the intended learner's outcome. So the learner here is you as the teacher. So standard 1, we are being told teacher promotes professionalism throughout his or her career. That is the first standard. Have you met that? And if you do, here are the indicators, as you can see. So you can read all that. Kindly, I will not go through this because I don't want this video to be very long. So the first standard is the teacher promotes professionalism throughout his or her career. And as you can see, the first slide is about professionalism. So with these standards, for every standard, there is a chapter that will show you how to cover that gap. So if you're having a gap with professionalism as a teacher, you are going to read that chapter on professionalism and know how to cover that gap. So these are the indicators. So you can see there are so many. So you can just pick one indicator. You don't have to pick all of it. Just pick one. Then as you're going to see in the assignment, you are supposed to pick a teaching subject that will help you to cover that gap. So that's the first standard. The second standard is the teacher has pedagogical content knowledge and understanding of the CBC and how to implement it. So are you competent with CBC? And if you are, can we be able to see all this in you? So I'm sure we are not yet there. We must have a gap. So choose among the indicators the one that you think does not come out yet and focus on that. Then the third standard is the teacher has knowledge on assessment and reporting. You see, for example, now standard 1 professionalism, standard 2 on CBC, and now standard 3 here, but the standard, I'm talking about the KEPS standard. So the standard 3 here, these are the 3 chapters we covered during the December holiday. So as I told you, for each standard, there's a chapter to cover. If you identify a gap, there's a chapter to show you, to guide you on how to cover it. So the TSC, our employer, is doing its part. So you're also supposed to do a part because they don't know which gap you are going through. So they have given you the training and the modules to go through and understand how to cover that gap, so that you can qualify to be called a professional teacher with TSC. So standard 3, you can see the teacher designs assessment for assessment aids and assessment of learning. So we have tackled all this. Go through that, identify that is your gap. Identify an indicator that you feel you are not yet there. Then standard 4, teacher knows how to create and support inclusive education practices. Competency indicators for this standard include, so the teacher, read all through. Are you competent in that standard? Then standard 5, the teacher knows and promotes comprehensive school health and safety. Are you competent enough? That one, this chapter we have not covered. So once you cover it, you'll be able to gauge yourself. Am I competent enough in that? Then standard 6, the teacher has knowledge of financial literacy skills. Are you confident in that area? So it's also a chapter we've not covered with Kemi. We are looking forward to that. Then standard 7, the teacher knows and promotes instructional leadership and administration. Are you a competent leader? Are you a competent instructional leader? So gauge yourself amongst those indicators. Then come up. So as we go to the assignment, among the 7 standards, you're supposed to pick one. Just work with one. And I said the TPD plan is for a term. So by the end of the term, for example, let me go back. Let me, for example, pick the second one here on CBC. For example, we can see it says, the teacher demonstrates understanding of the broad 21st century learners' outcomes and support system. The teacher demonstrates understanding of a competency-based education and how it works. Demonstrates knowledge of the basic curriculum reform, that is the 7 core curriculum competencies. Demonstrates ability to plan teaching with the end in mind using a backward instructional design model. So let me see what I can pick here. For example, let me pick the last one here. It says, the teacher knows how to use information technology resources to enhance learners' engagement. Are you competent enough? Are you still using your blackboard, your chalkboard from January to December? Do you involve your learners in technology? How do you engage your learners? Remember, we have different teaching methods. Among your methods, is there any of those methods that involves information technology? Do you know how to do it? That can be a gap. I don't know how. So for this time, I'm going to teach myself how, and at the end, I and my learners will benefit. So just pick an indicator there. Maybe we can also look at another one. So like this one, evaluates and modifies learner resources to support the teaching of a content area. You modify resources. Remember, we're in different counties, so modify, and you look at our curriculum design, we have suggested learning experiences and even suggested learning resources. Customize them to fit your learners, to fit your school, to fit your county. So do you know how to do that? That can be a gap. Pick on it and focus on it this term. So that's it. So we pick one. So let me go back. So I wanted to show you through that. So now once you get back to the portal, what you're supposed to do, the TPD Action Plan involves 5 steps. So let me explain as we go. So as I was explaining, the TPD plan involves 5 steps, and I'm going to be referring to my notebook to be able to effectively explain them. So you must go through each of the steps so that your TPD plan can be said to be good. So the first step is where you self-assess yourself, you self-evaluate yourself. This is where now you check which among the standards, which one am I strong at, your strong areas. Then you also check on the ones that if you feel you're adequate, you're somewhere, but you need improvement. Then the third one is where now you feel here I am weak, and this is where I'm going to focus on developing professionally. And actually there's a rating scale of 1 to 3 where you are supposed to pick where do you belong according to gap to standard number 1. Okay, it's that 3 is the strongest, at least you're good in that area. 2, you are adequate but not yet there. Then 1, this is your weakest area. So this is where your TPD plan should focus on. This is the part that this is the gap that I want to cover. So rate yourself, self-evaluate yourself among the 7 standards. Where am I? Where standard 2? Am I at 3, 2, or 1? Standard 5, am I at 3, 2, or 1? So self-evaluate yourself. That is the first step. Then the second step now, identify your gap. Look at the indicators. If it's standard 4, look at the competency indicators. Maybe they are 10 or 12. I'm adequate in this standard, but there is one competent indicator that has not yet come out in me. Focus on that one. So identify your gap. Then after you have identified your gap now, then you are supposed to, in the second stage still, first you're supposed to identify your gap. We're in the second stage. Still in the second stage, you are supposed to identify which chapter covers that gap. Remember now the employer has come in and come up with this training program. So for each standard, I told you there's a chapter that will show you how to cover that goal, that gap. It will give you the knowledge and the skill to do it. So according to the standard you have chosen, which chapter covers that gap? For example, you have seen professionalism is standard 1, and it's actually the first. It's chapter professionalism is chapter 1. It covers standard 1. CBC is chapter 2. It covers standard 2. I hope you're getting me. Then as you go along, you're going to see this standard is covered in this chapter. So identify. So if you have an issue with professionalism, you're going to identify that my gap will be covered in chapter 1. If you have an issue with CBC, that is standard 2, my gap will be covered in chapter 2. You're actually supposed to note down that this gap I've identified will be covered in this chapter. So then again, still on stage 2, you are going to set professional learning goals. Professional learning goals. And for you to come up with these goals, there are things you should consider. You just don't come up with goals. As you're coming up with the goals, there are some few things you should consider. So you're being told, as you come up with your goals, it should include outcomes of self-assessment in data 1. So what is your outcome? Well, by the end of the term, what do you want to achieve? If you have a gap in identifying and modifying the resources to fit your learners in your county and your school, what will you, by the end of the term, what will I do to cover this gap? Again, you should also consider the competency indicators as per your standard. That is why I've said, pick your standard. Then among the many competent indicators, pick one, write it down there. So I have a gap in standard 2. The competency indicators I'm focusing on this term is this. So my learning outcome by the end of the term is this. Then again, you are being told, as you rate your goal, there should be a balance between you as the individual teacher and the classroom learning curriculum outcome. So as you pick this goal, yes, it should be to advance you. At the same time, it should relate to the curriculum design, the CBC curriculum design that we are teaching. And that is why when you're going to look at the assignment, it says pick a teaching subject and show how it's going to help you achieve that goal. So if, for example, you are teaching music or science or English, look at the strand for that term that you have schemed for. How will this gap that I am having in modifying the resources to fit my learners, how will this strand, pardon me, how will this strand help me to, by the end of the term, to develop and come at that? By the end of the term, as I look at scheming, as I look at the resources I'm going to prepare for my learners we are going to use, how will this gap finally be over? And I'm going to say that I've achieved that competent. It can be seen. I am able to modify resources to fit my learners. So also check your curriculum design. As you scheme, look, it gives us suggestions, and those are suggestions. So that is why now, if you don't have that skill, you are going to learn how to modify. So go through. So to get that again, read the model on CBC. It's going to show you all those indicators are in that chapter. It's going to show you for this indicator what you're supposed to do step by step. So as you do that, now that is step number 2. So step number 2, we have said it includes, okay, let's go back to step number 1. Step number 1 is just very simple. Self-evaluate yourself. Among the 7 standards, identify your strong ones. That's a 3. Identify those ones that you feel you are adequate but not yet there. That is 2. Then 1, this is where you feel that you're weak, and that is actually where your focus should be on developing professionally. Then we've said step number 2 now, as you should come up with so write down your gap, write down the competent indicator you are targeting, write down your professional goals to achieve, to cover that gap. And we've said the points to consider when you're coming up with that goal. And all this I'm telling you, they're in the modules, so you can go back and read more. This is just an overview just to guide you. Then now, step number 3, we said we have 5 steps. Step number 3 now, No, this is where now you come up with the actual plan. You draft your actual plan. So we call it the Professional Development Action Plan. So once you've identified your gap, your strengths and weaknesses, and you're supposed to come up with an action plan, and your action plan should include one, the intended professional development goal. So you should clearly indicate your goal. You should, the rationale for developing that goal. Why are you developing that goal? Why do you want to develop professionally? And remember, we are told it should not only be focused on you, the learner should also benefit. As a teacher, why do I want to improve in the teaching and learning as I teach my learners music or science? Or why should I modify the learning resources in the first place? Because I want my learners to benefit. I want them to relate with what is in our area. For example, in Muranga, we have a lot of tea. So if the learning suggestions in the curriculum design are talking about pyrethrum, where are we going to get pyrethrum? So I'm going to modify my lesson and include tea so that it can remain relevant. So as much as I'm improving, I also want my learners to improve along with me. So give a rationale. Why come up with a goal? For you personally, and also at the end of it all, remember we want also the learner to benefit. So kindly support why you need to overcome that gap. That is the rationale. Then the benefits, the professional development to the learners learning. How will the learners benefit once you overcome that gap? Will there be any improvement in knowledge and skill acquisition or a change of attitude once you achieve that goal? It is your achievement, yes, but how will it benefit your learner? Mention it there. So remember, as much as it is your development, the focus is also on the learner. When you are overcome that gap, will it benefit your learners in any way? Mention it there. Again, the chapter of the module to undertake. This one we have said, identify, write down the chapter that will enable you to overcome this gap. Then the nature of assessment to attain the professional gap. How will you assess yourself? How will you know that you have achieved, you have overcome that gap? So list the type of assessment you're going to use. We covered this last time, the types of assessment. There's the formal, the summative, we have the rubrics, we have the portfolios, the journals, and all that. Go through that and identify one according to you and your goal. How will you assess that you have achieved and overcome that gap? Then, information on resources required. Which resources will help you to overcome that gap? What will you use? Will it be the curriculum design? Will it be maybe include some textbook? Will it include maybe involving technological devices, digital devices? It all depends on the standard you chose and the indicator you chose and the gap you have written. So which resources will help you to acquire this? So that is the action plan. Simple. And I've actually come up with a, sorry for that, and I've actually come up with a sample of how I did my assignment. It's just a format. I'm going to quickly show you how it looks like. It's just a format of how you're supposed to write your action plan. And let me say that this is not this is just a suggestion, and I said please don't copy and paste, kindly. So this is my own way of doing the assignment. Kindly don't copy and paste it. Design it in your own way, but according to the way I've done it, it has highlighted all the points that are supposed to be covered in an action plan. And I'm going to show you a screenshot of it just to give you an idea. Then now we are done with the third stage. Then the fourth stage is where now assessment of the teacher action plan by the instructional leader. Once you draft your action plan, your instructional leader, that is your head teacher or your principal, should assess it. And there are also things that he or she should consider as they assess you. And I'm not going to go through it because it is in the model. But they're supposed to check briefly. Have you specified your goal? How will it improve the learner's process? How will it benefit the learners? Have you which competent indicators are you focusing? Have you followed all the steps required? Basically that. But kindly go through it. It's all in the model. I'm just brushing through. Kindly go through it now as the instructional leader. And also you as a teacher, it's good to go through it. And so what will my principal head teacher be looking for? Have I done it? Then now the fifth step is where now your instructional leader gives a report. on all the teachers in the action plan. They're supposed to give a report of, they're supposed to list down the teachers, the gaps they identified, and the intervention measures. Simply that. Okay, so that is how an action plan should look like. It should have all the 5 steps. But now we are focusing on the assignment with Kemi. So Kemi has given us assignment. They have said, identify one standard where you need more knowledge and skill. Among the 7, identify one. Step number 2, draw a support plan in an area of your teaching subject that can address the gap you have identified. So amongst your teaching subjects, your learning areas, identify one of them that will enable you to address this gap. Then explain how your plan can be operationalized in a school-based TPD program. So this gap, how will you overcome it? Remember, for you to overcome it, you are a teacher, you're involving your learner. So how will you operationalize it? So on the goals part, when you're writing down the goals, by the end of the term now you don't say the learner as we do it when you're writing the schemes. By the end of the term then you list down their goals. But for example, by the end of the term, I should be able to come up with appropriate learning resources or with modified learning resources to fit my learners. That is an example I'm just giving. So show actually how you are going to operationalize your plan by the end of the term. And this is going to come out in the goals part. So you're not supposed to to write a whole lesson plan, the development stage 1, I'll do this and this. It's going to be indicated in the learning goals. You list them down. So that is all that you're required to do. So let me briefly show you the sample of the professional development plan that I came up with. Then actually now show you how to send the assignment online. In the first video, I just showed you the assignment already sent and how it will read on the dashboard. So actually today I have done that assignment. I've identified my gap, I've identified the chapter, I have filled in my I've explained how I'm going to operationalize my plan. So I believe I'm done. So I'm going to show you how to submit it to the portal. So here we are. This is the rating scale as I was talking to you about. As you can see, you're supposed to, this is the kept standard. So this is where you are going to write the standard you have identified that you're going to focus on. You're going to write it here. Then among the many competence indicators under that standard, I told you just pick one and let it be your focus. Write it here. Then now, as you can see, the rating scale, we have 3 to 1. We said 3 says my knowledge, skills, and attributes in these competencies are very strong. Number 2, my knowledge, skills, and attributes in these competencies are adequate, will be improved. Then my knowledge, skills, and attributes in these competencies need to be the focus of my professional development. So as you are drafting your action plan, you don't have to write the 3, 2, and 1. That one is self-evaluated yourself. So according to the assignment, just write the rating scale 1 because this is where your focus will be. So that is the draft. I just wanted to show you that. Then I'll show you how I did mine. Then next, these now are the stages. Let me try and zoom in so you can see the 5 stages. The stage 1 is down here. Step 1, the teacher self-assessment. Then step 2, professional goal setting. Then step 3, professional development action plan. This is where now you write down exactly what you're going to do. Then step 4, instructional leader assessment. After you are done with the action plan, this is where you said you give to your instructional leader, that is your head teacher or principal, to assess you. Then step 5 is for the instructional leaders, where the teacher TPD, they give the teacher TPD report of whether you have identified your gap and the steps you have planned to take in implementing that. So that is the schedule. So let me take you now to, this is my format, how I've done the assignment. It's not, I am not sure whether it's correct. I'm going to submit my assignment and wait for grading. So this is just the way I decided to do mine. So I wrote professional development action plan. So I write the teacher's name there. The learning area I will pick. So I write the learning area and the grade or class I've picked to concentrate on. Because remember the assignment says pick a teaching area. Then now professional gap, I'm going to identify it and to get the professional gap, look at your competency indicator. So you're going to say I'm lacking that indicator. So that's my gap. Then the professional development goal, you're going to list them here. we said you can list 2 or 3 or 4. Then the rationale you support. Why should I develop these goals? What do I aim to achieve? Then the benefits of the professional development to the learner's learning. How will you developing professionally benefit your learners? Then, as we said, the chapter of the module to undertake for professional development. We said for every gap, there is a chapter that will show you the knowledge and skills you require to overcome it. Then the assessment tools to attain the professional development goals, the assessment tools you are going to use to show that you have achieved that competency in that standard. Then down here, learning resources to accomplish the professional development goals identified. Which resources will you require to aid you in attaining, in covering that gap? So this is my way of doing it. I don't know whether it's correct, so I'm going to submit and wait for confirmation. So let me take you to my work. 1 minute. Let me see. I have my work here, so I've prepared it. I'm actually going to show you how to send it on the portal. So let me just briefly show you how it is. Let me open it. So this is it. Let me wait for it to open. So this is briefly it. So I can see I've identified, I've written my name, my learning area is Science and Technology Grade 5. I've even written the strand there. Then the CAPE standard, pedagogical content, knowledge and understanding of CBC. That is now chapter standard 2. If you note the standards, the CAPE standards. My competency indicator is know how to use information technology resources to enhance learners' engagement. Then the rating skill I've written there. 1, my knowledge, skills and attributes in this competency need to be the focus of the professional development. I said don't rate your strengths and the ones that you're adequate. So my gap here, look at the competency. Knows how to use information technology resources to enhance learners' engagement. But now here under professional gap, now I've written lack of knowledge and skills on how to use information technology to enhance learners' engagement. So now I've said professional development goal, by the end of the time I should be able to. Then I've listed them down there. Here you can see them. Then the rationale I've explained, the benefits or what my learners will learn. The chapters of the module, you can see I've written chapter 2. I've identified the tools and the learning resources. So this is, I'm going to submit my assignment and wait to be corrected. So I'm here on my virtual campus, Kemi virtual campus portal, and I want to show you now how to submit the assignment. So again, I'm still going to click on the introductory module, then I scroll down, then I'm going to come here on professionalism, click on professionalism, then again scroll all the way down, and then here we are. So we are on the end of chapter assignment. I'm going to click that. So once it opens, as you can see, not attempted, not graded. So I'm going to come to this point, written add submission. Then I'm going to scroll down. So this time I don't want to type into the online text. I've already done my work. So I'm just going to upload the file. So that is a second option. You can type in here your work, or you can work on it maybe on your tablet or on your Word document, your laptop, or wherever else. Then you upload the file here. So this time round, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to scroll down here where it is written file. You see this down arrow. I'm going to press that. Then now it's telling me to choose a file to attach. Attachment, this part written attach, choose file. So I'm going to click on it. Then now it's going to take me to my files on my phone. I pick where I have saved it. So I'm going to come, I don't want a video, I'm going to come to my recent files. So this will depend with your phone, where you've saved your work. So mine is in WPS. So I'm going to click WPS. Then I'm going to come here. So it actually depends with your phone. Let me see. Oh, so here is my work, Dorcas, and on the end of chapter assignment, I'm going to click that. So you see now, you can see my file is here, doc. Then how do I want to save it? I'm going to say Dorcas and assignment. Let me say end of chapter, because probably we'll be having others. End of chapter assignment. That's the same way I've saved it. Then now I come here, upload file. You can see. So here it is. So it has been uploaded. You are going to see it there and reflect how you've saved your file. Then save changes. Let me click save changes. We see. So let me scroll down so you can see here submitted for grading. Today being Sunday. Then you can see file submission. This is the title of my file, Dorcas, and end of chapter assignment. So my trainer is going to see this assignment and grade me accordingly. And that's all. So we wait for grading. Thank you very much for watching one more time. Click on the title of my channel, TPD Online Classroom. Click on the videos and see the other videos that I've prepared. And again, kindly like, comment, and subscribe. In case you need any guidance, feel free to interact. Thank you and have a wonderful Sunday.